Hi guys, Alec Peirce here at Simcoe Diving in Barrie, Ontario. Great little dive store right on Lake Simcoe. And the topic at hand is in direct response to one of your comments and questions, which I really appreciate. I love the comments and questions. This particular question was about micro adjusting. Apparently this chap was in his local dive store, his LDS as we call it. And the dive store owner said, well, we can micro adjust your regulator to make it perfect. It'll be so easy breathing. You won't think you're underwater, something like that he was saying. I mentioned this micro-adjusting. So my viewer said to him, what's micro-adjusting? Is it good? Do I need it? What is it? So anyway, I thought I'd take 1 minute. Now you know that regulators are adjustable, most of them, not all of them. Here's a regulator, a very famous regulator. This is a Daycore Olympic 400, and it's a little bit different. Still has a cover, still has a diaphragm, and has a lever. It's a spring lever, a little bit weird, eh? It's a spring lever, see that? Same thing though. If you look down in there, you can see that when I move that spring, that rod, way down, that little square rod down in there, moves. See, it moves out. And on this end of that square rod, let me just open it up here. On this end of that square rod, I'll look down in there, stay there, Kevin. Down this end, guess what's down in there? Can you see down in there? The hose is connected to this. The hose from the first stage comes into here, and then there's that hard seat that I mentioned, right? And that goes in there, and you set that in like so, and you adjust the spring pressure. Now watch for just a minute, let me show you something. Daycore was pretty smart. They made it easy, as they made the hard seat adjustable. Watch what I mean. Can you see the spring? Watch what happens. I'm going to turn this in. See it go down? Because I'm pushing that hard seat against the rubber seat, increasing the pressure. So much it actually makes your lever go down. Now if you did it like that, you're not going to get air. You put this in your mouth, nothing. You get no air. So then it's no air, you can't breathe, so you turn it out. Out and out and out, and you're reducing the pressure on that rubber seat. And finally you get it out here, it goes free flow. Turn it back. Like that. That's all there's to it. Smart, huh? So when you got it set just right, then you take the lock nut that's right here, you tighten it up, and your rig's all set to go. So, what's this micro adjust? Well, the threads on here are pretty thick. So when you turn that a little wee bit, the threads make it move in and out quite a bit. So you get a good adjustment, but it's not really, really fine. It's not a fine adjustment. It's a terrible analogy, but compare 60 grit sandpaper to 200 grit sandpaper. 60 grit will take the wood off, make it smooth. 200 grit makes it glassy. Anyway, that's not a good analogy, but that's the way it is. So what's with this micro adjust? Well, Daycore was one of the first ones to come along with it. Here's another Daycore rig just a few years later, a dozen years later, and they have the same adjuster out here. Yeah, there's the hard seat, adjust in and out, right? I've got to open this up because it has changed a little bit inside. What's changed in that few years? There's the cover and the ring. Well, silicone, no rubber anymore. That's good. That was a good change to get rid of that. And the lever has changed as well. You can see that this lever is different from the last one. The last one was kind of a wire spring thing. See, this is a flat device. But it's the same thing. Watch when I turn this in, you'll see the same thing. Watch the lever go down. Too hard. Bring it back up. So you adjust it over here with the thick coarse threads. That's pretty good, but then you can open up, there's a little knob on the end which comes off, a little port on the end which comes off, and you can reach down in there with a long thin screwdriver, watch. Somehow, I can't see it, there we go, and now you can turn the poppet seat. A little wee bit, and the threads on that poppet seat to go right through to the rubber seat, the threads on that poppet are really fine threads, really, really fine threads. So a little wee movement, unlike the coarse threads, doesn't change that very much. You can make it very, very fine tuning. So regular coarse, if you like, normal, basic adjusting, with a breathing effort over here, right? And then if you want to, you can micro adjust it over here. And different regulator companies have different ways of doing that. Some actually have a knob for micro adjust. Most of them do not. It's usually I don't want to say hidden, but it's usually a concealed system because the micro adjust is fairly fragile, doesn't make much difference, and you get divers, doesn't change anything. It did, you just didn't notice it. Take it all the way back out, and pretty soon you break it. So they usually hide it, as they've done in this particular case. That's all it is. Course adjust, micro adjust. So, are they good? If you set it up using the course adjust the way you're supposed to, properly, so that when you suck in on the regulator, oh, it's just like breathing here, Kevin. And you turn this in a little wee bit so it doesn't free flow. Oops, not too hard. Open it up. And eventually turn it out too far. Take it back in. That's beautiful. That's about as fine as you're going to get. You get the micro adjuster, you turn it a tiny little bit. You won't even notice the difference. There used to be, we used a Magna-Helic gauge. I'm going to get Kevin to put a picture of the Magna-Helic gauge on there. Magna-Helic, okay? And the Magna-Helic gauges are very, very sensitive, and it's used in any company, any business or industry or process that has moving gas under pressure. And it's used in scuba. By hooking up your regulator to a Magna-Helic gauge and then breathing on it, breathing in and out, you can read on the needle how much effort it takes to suck air in. And how much it takes to exhale too, because that's kind of important. You know, so Decor has 2 exhaust ports to reduce the exhalation effort. They have 2 exhaust ports. Most regulators only have 1. But anyway, so when you suck in, hooked up to the Magna-Helic gauge, you'll see needle, and it'll say it might go to 1, might go to 1.5, might go to 2. That would be very, very easy breathing. You'll have to read about what those numbers mean. It has to do with water, inches of water. Anyway. So you hook it up to the Magna-Helic gauge. Now if you get it set so it's breathing beautifully, and you hook it up to the Magna-Helic gauge and it reads 1, 1.5, that's really, really good. And now you adjust with the micro adjust, and you're watching the Magna-Helic. You might get it down to 0.7, maybe 0.6, maybe 0.5. Really, really, really sensitive. All right? Good? Bad? I don't know. That's up to you. I think it's a waste of time and money. It's more complex. And the difference between 1 and 0.7 inches of water on inhalation is almost undetectable. Not only that, it makes a regulator very sensitive too. If you take this regulator and you drop it in the water face down, the water hits the diaphragm and it starts to free flow. And if it's got a venturi, it'll free flow. You got to grab it and stick your stop. Stop. It's a nuisance. Even if you're underwater and you're in a strong current and you inhale, you're facing the current, this will start to free flow. It's just stop. Anyway, my personal opinion. Okay, don't tell your LDS store I told you this, because they want to sell them. They're more expensive. But my personal opinion is that micro adjusting is a neat idea. But in scuba diving, it really is of little or no value. It's one of those features, right? Features with no benefits. Yeah, features with no benefits. It's up to you, but at least now you understand what it is. I hope that was beneficial, and I hope you learned something. Take a look at the Magna-Helic gauge picture that Kevin has and go back and check on the venturi. You'll learn a bit more about how these second stages work. They're actually very simple. If you look at it the first time and I explain it to you the first time, oh my God, it's actually very simple. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Talk to you soon. Alec, Peirce, Scuba Tech Tips from Simcoe Diving in Barrie. Talk to you soon. Lake Simcoe, if you don't know, is famous for its ice. It gets extremely thick ice, and it's beautiful fresh water. There used to be many companies who took ice from Lake Simcoe. One was called Lake Simcoe Ice. You know, they sat up all night thinking of that name, but anyway. And they would go out there with horses and buggies, horses and sleds, And guys had long saws with a handle on one end, and they sliced the ice into big blocks, and they took them and put it into the wagon, took it into sheds that they had on the shoreline, and they put it down. There was big holes cut in the ground in the basement of the shed, and they put sawdust on it to keep it from thawing out, and they had hundreds and hundreds of tons of ice. And then in the summertime, of course, you don't need ice in the winter. In the summertime, they would then sell that ice. Ice from Lake Simcoe was sold all over Ontario and all over the northeastern states. A lot of ice. If your parents or your grandparents had an ice box, and you're living somewhere in New York, western New York, there's every chance that the ice in that ice box came from Lake Simcoe. Anyway, long story.